fantastic week this week. I just want to apologize for posting the video late. I went back in and redid the pattern of our mechanism so it fits a little bit better. But does anybody have any guesses of what I might have did this week? So here's the front. It says time with you is, and I did some Coke cans. Any guesses yet? If you said a Coke can, you're right. Is always refreshing. That's right. Anytime with you guys is always refreshing. And then I just did the Coke around it. And then down here we have a place to write a message and some tabs I put over here. And I just think this turned out cute. So why don't we go ahead and head over to Design Space and get started on making our next card. I'll meet you there. Guys, now that we're here in Design Space, we're going to start with our card base, and we're going to go a little bit bigger this week just to accommodate our pop-up. So we're going to make our card base 6.5 by 11.5. Excuse me. We're going to make sure that our rectangle for our card base, the X is at 0 and the Y is at 0. Then we're going to get a score line. So we'll go to shapes. We're going to get a score line. We're going to rotate that score line 90 degrees. That score line we are going to place at 6.5. Then we're going to go to shapes, get another score line. Then we're going to go up to operation. We're going to change that operation to a basic cut. We're going to adjust that cut line to 1/2 inch. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees. We're going to place the X at 3 and the Y at 4.389. Then we're going to right click, duplicate. Then we're going to place the X at 3 and the Y at 7.111. Then once we have our card base and our cut line and our score line, we're going to grab it all and hit attach. Then for our pretty pieces of paper, we are going to do 4. They're going to measure 6.5 by 5 3/8 of an inch. Then we're going to put it all the way in the corner for our X and Y to be on 0. Then we're going to go to shapes. We're going to get a score line. We're going to go up to operation and change that score line to a basic cut line. We're going to make that cut line 1/2 inch. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees. We're going to place the X at 2.882 and then the Y at 4.236. Grab the square and the cut line and go down to the bottom and hit attach. Bottom piece, we're going to put the X at 0 and then the Y at 0. Then we're going to duplicate that cut line. We're going to place that cut line at 2.91 and then the Y at 1.2. Then we're going to grab them both and hit attach. And this will be your bottom piece. And then we'll just make 2 additional pretty pieces of paper, and that will be for the front of our card. And then if you would like these, we can go to shapes. We're going to grab this little guy right here. My back piece I made 5.856 by 2.99, and then the top piece I did 2.514 by 5.381. Then we can just grab this all and hit group. Okay, our next thing we're going to need is, let's go to shapes. Let's get a square. We're going to make that square 1/2 inch by 3.5. And you're going to right click, duplicate, and then we can move these to a side. Let's go to shapes again. Let's get another square. We're going to take that square and we're going to make it 3 7/8 of an inch by 4.258, and 7/8 of an inch is 0.8 4.875. For shapes, we're going to get a score line. We're going to make that score line 4.225. Then we're going to grab them both, go up to the top, hit align and center, and then go down to the bottom and hit attach. And then we can move this piece aside. Then let's go to shapes. We're going to get a square, and then let's right click, duplicate that square. The first square we are going to make is 5.516 by 4.261. And we're going to make sure our X and our Y is at 0. Then our second square we're going to take and we're going to make it 0.385 by 1.185. We're going to take that little square and we're going to place it, the X on 0.418 and then the Y on 4.261. Then we can right click, duplicate, and that second one we're going to place the X at 4.765 and then the Y at 4.261. Then we can grab them all and go down to the bottom and hit weld. Should have something that looks like this. We're going to go to shapes. We're going to get a score line. We're going to make that score line 4.264. In height, we're going to place the X at 0.334 and the Y at 0. Then we can duplicate it and make the X, place it on 2.758 and the Y at 0. Then we can duplicate it again, and then we can put the X on 5.182 and the Y on 0. Then let's right click, duplicate. We're going to rotate that score line 90 degrees. We're going to make in height that score line 4.73, and the X we're going to place on 0.414 and the Y at 4.254. Then once we have all of our score lines in place, we're going to grab it all and hit attach. And then we can move this piece aside. Then let's go to shapes and let's get a circle. Then let's go to shapes again and get this little tab. We are going to make our circle 2.684 by 2.684. For the circle, we're going to place the X at 0 and the Y at 0.64. Then we're going to take that tab and we are going to make it 0.407 by 0.764. Then we're going to place the X at 1.138 and then the Y at 3.2. Then we're going to right click, duplicate, and then we're going to go up to the top and we're going to flip and then flip vertical. Then once we've done that, we're going to place the X at 1.138 and then the Y at 0. Then we can grab it all and go down to the bottom and hit weld. And we should have something that looks like this. So our circle should now be 2.693 by 3.978. Then we're going to go to shapes and we're going to get a score line. We're going to make that score line 2.69. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees. We're going to place the X on 0 and then the Y on 1.991. Then we're going to grab them both and hit attach. We can move that piece aside. Shapes, we're going to get this square, and then we're going to go to shapes again, and we're going to get this half circle, that square, and we're going to make that square 0.381 by 0.502. We're going to place the X on 0.529 and then the Y at 0. Then we're going to right click, duplicate. We're going to make that square, place it on 3.23 and then the Y at 0. Then we're going to take that half circle, we're going to make it 1.392 by 2.68. we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. We're going to place the X at 0 and then the Y at 0.496. And it should be lined right against your rectangle that we made. Then let's right click, duplicate. We're going to take that half circle and place the X at 2.68 and then the Y at 0.496. Then let's get the square right here and then we're going to right click, duplicate. We're going to adjust that square to 0.335 by 0.673. We're going to place the X at 1.172 and then the Y at 1.864. Then let's right click, duplicate. We're going to place the X at 3.852 and then the Y at 1.864. And it should be lined up just like this. Click on one of our half circles and then we're going to right click, duplicate. And then once we duplicate it, we're going to go up to flip and then flip vertical. And then we're going to take that and we're going to place the X at 0 and then the Y at 2.514. Then let's duplicate it and place the X at 2.68 and then the Y at 2.514. Then let's go to the top and get one of these rectangles we already done and right click, duplicate. We're going to place this one at 0.536 for the X and the Y at 3.903. And then we're going to duplicate it again and we're going to place the X at 3.244 and then the Y at 3.903. Then we should have something that's looking like this. So let's go ahead and grab it all and we're going to hit weld. And it should look like this. Have it all welded together, what we can do is make sure we have the same size. We want the width to be 5.36 and the height to be 4.433. Then let's go to shapes and let's get a score line. We're going to take that score line and make it 3.079. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees. We're going to place the X at 0.565 and then the Y at 0.516. Then let's right click, duplicate, and we're going to place that one at 1.204 and the Y at 1.905. Then we can duplicate it again and place the X at 1.195 and then the Y at 2.518. Then duplicate it again and we're going to take that score line and place the X at 0.563 and then the Y at 3.935. Then let's right click, duplicate. We're going to rotate that back to 0 and then we're going to go up to operation and we're going to make it a basic cut line. We are going to make it 3.43 in height. We're going to place the X at 2.68 and then the Y at 0.515. Then we're going to just grab everything and then go down to the bottom and hit attach. On this piece, we need to duplicate it a total of 4 times. And once we have that, we can grab them all and group them and then move them aside. Now, let's go to shapes. We're going to get the square. We are going to make that square 8.018 by 5.697. We're going to place the X at 0 and then the Y at 0.928. Then let's go to shapes again. We're going to get another square. We're going to resize that square to 0.5 by 1.004. We're going to place the X at 0.278 and the Y at 0. Then we can duplicate it and place that next one, the X at 4.556 and the Y at 0. Then let's go to shapes again, and we're going to get a half circle. We're going to make that half circle 2.082 by 4.009. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees. We're going to place the X at 0 and the Y at 6.582. Then we're going to duplicate it. We're going to place that X at 4.009 and then the Y at 6.582. Then let's go to the top and get that square at the top, and we're going to right click, duplicate. We're going to make that square 0.501 by 1.006. We're going to place the X at 1.754 and then the Y at 8.629. Then let's duplicate it and place it at 5.763 and then the Y at 8.629. Then let's get this half circle, click on it and duplicate it. Then once we duplicate it, we're going to go to flip horizontal, place the X at 0 and then the Y at 9.6. Then we're going to right click, duplicate. We're going to place that circle at 4.009 and then the Y at 9.6. Then let's go to the top and get the square, and we're going to right click, duplicate. We're going to adjust that to 0.57 and then the height 0.751. We're going to place the X at 0.842 and then the Y at 11.664. Then we can duplicate it and take the X and place it at 4.884 and then the Y at 11.678. Then we're going to grab it all and we're going to hit weld. Now let's go ahead and resize that. We're going to resize that to the width 5.36 by 8.309. Now, once we have that, we're going to make sure our X and our Y are on 0. Then we're going to go to shapes. We're going to get a square. We're going to resize that square to 0.39 by 0.056. We're going to place the X on 0.556 and then the Y at 1.028. Then we're going to duplicate it. We're going to place the second one, the X at 1.726 and the Y at 1.028. Then duplicate it. We're going to take that X and we're going to place it at 3.231 and then the Y at 1.019. Then right click, duplicate. We're going to place the X at 4.401 and then the Y at 1.028. Now, if you hold down your shift key on your keyboard and you click on all 4 of those tabs, we're going to group those together. Now that we got our squares done and we have it grouped together, this first one we are going to place the X at 0.556 and then the Y at 1.25. Then we're going to duplicate it and we're going to put the next one at 0.556 and the Y at 1.875. Then we're going to duplicate it. We're going to place the X at 0.556 and the Y at 2.5. Then we're going to duplicate it. We're going to place the X at 0.556 and then the Y at 3.125. Then we're going to right click, duplicate, and we're going to place the last row at 0.556 and the Y at 3.75. Then we're going to go to shapes, get a score line, take that score line 90 degrees. We're going to make it 3.37 inches long. We're going to place the X at 0.189 and then the Y at 0.615. Then we're going to right click, duplicate. We're going to place the X at 0 and the Y at 4.397. Then we're going to right click, duplicate. We're going to adjust that line to 1.171 and then the Y to 5.772. Then we're going to right click, duplicate. We're going to place the X on 1.176 and the Y at 6.412. Then we're going to duplicate that line again. We're going to rotate it back to 0. We're going to make that line 3.764. We're going to place the X at 2.68 and then the Y at 0.619. Then let's right click, duplicate. Then we're going to go up to basic operation and make it a basic cut. We're going to adjust that score line to 3.408. We're going to place the X at 2.68 and then the Y at 4.397. Then we're going to right click, duplicate this bottom score line here. And then we're going to come all the way down to the bottom. We're going to make that score line 3.078 in height. We're going to place the X at 0.537 and then the Y at 7.801. Then we're going to grab it all and then we're going to hit attach. And then we can move this piece to the side. Okay guys, here are all the pieces we need to make the pop-up card. Of course, any pieces that you would like to add to the front and the inside, add those. Let's not forget to go up and save and name our project. Why don't we go ahead and get our pieces cut out, and I'll meet you back at the table. I'll see you there. Okay guys, now that we're back here at the table, we can go ahead and work our card base, and I'm only putting on the first two pieces of pretty paper that go on the inside. Also, just a little tip that's helped me: if you have a cutter, if you take it and just go inside your little slit, it'll help open it up just a little bit more. And then I also did the same thing on my card base. So I just went inside my slit and just went back and forth a couple times like that, and you can see it's opened it up some. And then I'm just gonna do the other side. So let's go ahead and work our card base and put our pretty pieces of paper just on the inside. Okay, now that we have this piece done, let's get out this piece and these two pieces. These two pieces that we have, and we can work the score lines of our ends on the tabs here that we have. So let's do that. And then we just snip the little corners off at the end of our tabs. And just so it doesn't show when we put this together. Then we're going to take and glue each end on here. So we're going to put a little glue on the tab and then place our other piece to it. Then we can take this end and glue it on here. I'm going to go ahead and fold the score line here. Make it just a little bit easier to put it on. I folded it on the smaller piece. And then once we have it, if we push the two pieces we just glued together, we can fold our score lines. Okay, go ahead and set this piece aside. Then let's get this piece that looks like this, and then our other little pieces that look like this. We can work these little tabs down here, and then we can work our score line in the center, and then let's work these two score lines. And then you can fold that score line like so, and then pinch that one and fold it up, and then the same thing with this one over here. Then once we work that, we can fold this piece together like so. And we are going to glue just this square section, this rectangle section with our holes in it, okay? And this piece, this mechanism part that I made, is my second one. In the card I showed you, I used a different one. And this one uses way less pieces, and so that means less material needed to make this, and it seems to work much better. So once we have all this glued, we're going to take this piece, and it folds up like so, and then this little guy goes through this first slot, and then this guy will go through this slot like so. So what you do is put a little glue on this side, and then we're gonna put it on underneath, the glue part underneath this half circle, and slide him through on the other side. And then we're just going to give it a little pinch so he can dry for a second. And then while that piece is drying, we can go over here to the tab on the top, make him go under, the tab go under, and I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to put a little glue on that tab. Like so. And then put it down and give it a little pinch. Then once we think it's dry enough, this mechanism, how it works is it pushes up like so. Okay? So, it should look like that. Now for our next piece, we're just going to continue the same thing. We're going to work that score line, this score line, and then we will feed this tab here through the tab on one side. It doesn't really matter which side. like so. And then I lift it up, put glue down here, and we're gonna place it down. And the most important thing is making sure we line these tabs up to each other. And then we can come over here to this side, put a little glue on him. And then glue it down. And we're going to fold this piece up. And then the tab will go through this side. Like so. Well, since there's nothing there, we need to get our next tab. I'm going to line it through the opposite side. So we have a tab on this side, right? So I'm going to put the tab on this one. And we'll slide it through. Put a little glue on it. And then we're just going to continue doing this until we're done. And when you have it done, you should have something that looks like this. Okay? And then we can gently work it up, pushing it up. This is the top with the two legs. And we're going to push it gently up. Okay. Okay guys, this is I wanted to do over because there were some things I felt like I should have went over better in the video. So what I did learn is when you put each of these tiers on, if you work it along the way, it won't bend your little pieces, your tabs here. So that's one thing I have learned. But also on this, we're going to glue the strips on that we cut out here to give it more support when it goes inside of our mechanism. So let's do that. And put your glue on the tabs because these tabs are a little bit smaller and the strip I made is a little bit wider, so it's easier to get your tape or glue on it. So I just lay mine down and line it up. Also, I've learned is let things dry. Like, I feel like I wasn't being patient when I was doing gluing the pieces on to this card. Then we can push excuse me, these tabs up so they're out of the way. Now, what we're going to do with this piece is we're going to put it on the inside, but we're going to line it up in the center as best as we can. If it's not perfect, that's okay. Just try to get it as close as you can. And then we're only gonna go up from the bottom a 1/2 inch. So what I do is get my ruler from my bottom right here, from this point up, I'm gonna measure out a 1/2 inch. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. So my 2 little marks is what I'm gonna use to line the bottom of our base up with. You're gonna slide it in, and these 2 sides, which is the sides we didn't glue together, are the sides we line up with our score line. Okay, so our 2 score lines are on each side. We're gonna slide this in, and I see my 1/2 inch mark, so I'm gonna line this base up with my 2 marks on the side. After I get it centered, put glue or tape just on your strip here, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Make sure this is dry before you attempt to open it up. So what we can do is just push this side up with your finger, and then if you're using glue, I just put some glue in here, and then I get a piece of paper and spread the glue around where I can't reach. Love you. And then once we have our glue spread around, we're just gonna push our card down into it. So it should be looking something like this, like a little sandwich. Now, if you think this is dry enough, we can give it a test. And if it doesn't look like it's dry, then let it set some more. So you're just gonna push the bottom up, and it's gonna be tight. And you can fold these out too. And there we go, guys. This is so much better than the first one. It just makes it nice and snug in here. So to put it on, I find the easiest way is just to push mechanism up in your can, and then line your 2 edges of your can on your score line, and then just take it and feed it through my hole on this side, and then do the same on the other side. Then you have it in, but it's not adhered to your paper yet. I find that it moves nicely if we fold our tabs towards our score line. So once we have them through, we can put a little glue on here, and you won't see these tabs once you put your front piece of your pretty paper on. And there you have it. Now you might, until it gets working, need to give it a little push up with your finger. Now that we have this on, we can get our top And if you're putting anything on the top, I find before you put it on is best. So I just work the score lines and the tabs, and we just line this edge on this edge, and we glue our little tabs to our pink part. So let's do that. And then once we have our tab glued on here, you can put a little glue on each side of our pink tab here, and then we can adhere it to the side of our can. And there you have it. So I'm going to decorate my card, and I will be back to show you what I come up with. I have a question for you guys. Do you know why did the can crusher quit his job? Because it was soda pressing. This is what I came up with. My card idea, it says just popping by to say, does anybody have any guesses of what soda I picked to do on the inside? Any guesses? Any guesses? Well, if you guessed Dr. Pepper, you're right. And this is what it turned out. It says your soda lightful. And I just love the area down here where we can write a message. I just did another little Dr. Pepper can. And I just think this turned out really cute, guys. Did the two logos on the side. So there you have it, guys. I just want to say thank you so much for crafting with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.